Welcome to lockdown vlog number 38. Today is another beautiful day in Rotterdam. Well, let's make some coffee. Okay, so over here we have the clever dripper. I've shown you this before, but I have a nice little coffee trick for you. First, let's put in this coffee. Then we are going to add some water that I just boiled. Let's get it all in there. And we'll let that steep for a while. And then there's first something else that I would like to talk about, which is about yesterday's video. Because yesterday I told you about my preamp, and I think I should have made it more clear that this is in fact a prototype. And a prototype, of course, is used to try out things. And this one was built 35 years ago, and one of the things that the designer tried out was, for example, RCA or BNC connectors. I asked him because I know him and I still have this preamp in service with him, the original designer who also built it with his own hands. I asked him why BNC, and he said, well, his answer was simple: it sounds better to me. That was his answer. So in this prototype he just put in both RCA and BNC to just try out things. That's what you do with a prototype. Now probably for convenience reasons, most equipment had RCA outs and ins in those days, 35 years ago. So the production model ended up, I believe, not with BNC but RCAs. For now, I have no devices in my collection that have BNC out connectors, so for me it is useless unless I want to add an extra device, and for that I can use what I showed you yesterday, this little adapter, and that is the only reason why I have this. And as you noticed, at the moment it is not connected. There is no adapter right over there. So there's more things that give away that this was a prototype. For example, over here, and I know it is black, so let me see. Yeah, over here you see there are two holes in the front plate. There were two of these knobs, also two right over here, not connected to anything. But this is what you do with a prototype. You put on connectors, and when you have an idea that you would like to try inside here, you can use the connectors. So he had to drill holes in there for extra selectors. I took them off because I thought the front plate was getting a little bit too busy, so I'm left with these two holes. Another thing is, you see these 1, 2, 3, 4 switches over here, and when I bought this some years ago, only this one was connected. This is the on-off power switch. I believe at one point this was to turn on the preamp part, and this was to turn on and off the MC phono preamp part. And what I had him do at the moment is I can use this second switch to turn on and off the phono section. So when I don't turn it on and I turn on the device, only the line stage, the line preamp is activated, saving me a lot of heat, some energy, a tube life, and well, things like that. So I can choose to turn on and off the preamp section. But this is a prototype, and that's why there are some things on there that you might think are strange, but that was just because it is a prototype, and that's where you you try out things. And this model, after 35 years, is still in production. What they don't do is bring out a new amplifier every 2 years, but when technology has been evolved, they will put it in to the new device and more or less upgrade the original design instead of bringing out a completely new design. Okay, so that was about yesterday. Oh, one more thing, as one of you kindly reminded me of, I talked about why a phono preamp, and I only mentioned the RIAA frequency curve, but a preamp also preamplifies this tiny little signal coming from your moving magnet or moving coil cartridge, and it will amplify that signal so your preamp can use it. Okay, so that's about yesterday. Back to my coffee, because there's something that I would like to show you. Here's my glass. Put it right over here and put, this is always a nice moment, seeing that going in. And if everything goes well, it should exactly fill up this glass without overflowing. As you can see, it's still going, there's still water on the top. And let's see if I am correct, because there's something that I would like to tell you about. How, because many of you told me in the comments that some of you, it inspired you to rethink your coffee skills after seeing some of the things that I did. And one of those things is I like to share with you today, because a good cup of coffee will need an amount of coffee beans, and depending on that amount you need an X amount of water. And there's a simple way of deciding how much do you need of both. So if you know how many grams of coffee beans you have, you can calculate how much water you need, or the other way around, where you know how much water you have, you can calculate how many grams of beans you need. And what you do is you use a simple calculator and of course a scale, because well, there is numbers involved. Okay, as you can see, this one is finished, and it ended up with the perfect amount for this cup of coffee. Now, let me have a taste. Very nice. Okay, so what am I talking about? Well, this is about ratio. And in order to do this simple little trick, there's just one magic number that you need to remember, and that is 15.5. So, let's say, can you see this? There's a light in there. Is this better? I believe so. Let's say you have 20 grams of coffee, and you want to know how much water do I need for this amount of coffee, and you have your magic number 15.5. so you do 20 times 15.5 is 310 milliliters grams of water for 20 grams of coffee, and that's all there is to it. And you can also do it the other way around. So for example, if you have 310 milliliters of water, grams of water, you'll just divide it by 15.5, and then we're back at the 20 grams that we used, that we did in the first example. And these ratios are a good starting point to get you a cup of coffee that is not too weak and not too strong. And if you want it a little bit stronger, you can change the 15.5 to 16. Sometimes people do even 17. I don't think you should go any higher. If you think your coffee is too strong, you can go a little bit lower, going to 15 or 14 and a half, something like that. So if you can weigh one of the two, either the amount of water that you put in or the amount of coffee that you have left. For example, when you go out camping and you have a handful of coffee for your last cup of coffee, if you can weigh it, you can also find out how much water is it that I need for this. Now, another tip, of course, for good coffee is to start out with actual beans. Now, that can become a little more expensive, meaning you need a grinder, for example, to do that. But if you really like your coffee and you are still using pre-ground coffee, give this a try. There is, for a much more modest price, there's hand grinders on the market that you can use, which is a lot more labor, but the best way, this is why you should do that, the best way to preserve coffee is in the bean itself. As soon as you have grinded it, it will start to lose its flavor, its power, its taste. And so if you grind it, try and make it a rule for you to use it as fast, as soon after grinding, to get yourself a nice hot cup of coffee. Okay, so ratios for coffee, only one number to remember, and that is 15.5. I hope this tip was helpful for you guys. If I don't forget, I will also put it in the description box below. And that's all for today. So let's look at my beautiful view that gets a lot of positive comments from you guys. This is my view. This was lockdown vlog number 38. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.